السلام عليكم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. رب أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه وأصلح لي في ذريتي إني تبت إليك وإني من المسلمين. جزاكم الله ألف خير. May Allah reward you for inviting me to speak about a subject that has been forgotten. Sudan is a country that has been remembered a lot, but always for the wrong things. Although when it comes to religion, whether it is Judaism, Christianity, or Islam, it is always Sudan that has been the place where those who have embraced the faith find the peace and the security that they are looking for. When we talk about what are we going to do in Sudan after the war, although to many, this is the first time they see the Sudanese people suffering collectively because of a war. Those who are older will remember when there was a war either in the south, which is too far away, realizing that the state of Sudan, the modern Sudan, area is equivalent to Europe. Huge. Or the war is in Darfur between the tribes of Sudan themselves in Darfur. But in the north, the only wars people can remember when they were fighting colonialism. And most of those wars, they managed to win until the time came whereby colonialism has taken place until Sudan was freed. If you look at the history of Sudan and you really want to know Sudan properly and you ask the younger generation, many of them have no idea about what Sudan is all about. Many of them who travel to work abroad, they come back with a form of culture or faith or even intellectual knowledge as if I am bringing something good to change Sudan because Sudan didn't have that. And I was shocked in one of my visits to Sudan. I heard some of the young people who came from the Gulf try to say they only get to know Islam properly when they left Sudan and worked abroad. And I asked one of them, where were you born? Did you know that those people whom you went to work with, the Sudanese ancestors of yours, went and taught them language and religion, whether it is the Gulf, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, or many in Africa. So if we look to Sudan from the historical point of view, the Sudan of today is not just the land that we live in or the Damascus. It used to be from the Red Sea up to the borders of Nigeria, including Mali and Chad and Niger. And if you look at the people, these tribes, they almost look the same. Nilotic tribes, they call them. I met once an ex-Attorney General of Ghana who used to be Michael and who became a Muslim. And I met him in a very strange way. One day I was sitting in my house in central London and the bell rings. My wife opened the door and said, there is an old man with a young man standing next to him asking for you. I let them into my sitting room. He sat down on the edge of the seats. I said to him, who are you? He mentioned, my name is Bashiru. And I will tell you my story. The story is very long. I'm not going to tell you the story. He was the Attorney General of Nkrumah, who was one of the most powerful African leaders during the Cold War. And this man did a lot of work to help and support that country until a coup took place and he was imprisoned. And in prison, he embraced Islam. He took Shahada in the sleep and became a Muslim. And when he came out of prison, he traveled to another country through the man who used to come to him in the dream, and he named him Bashiru. Until a time came when the Sheikh died, who was in Senegal, and then suddenly Nyerere of Tanzania sent and called for him to become the Attorney General of Zanzibar, who was causing him trouble because there are Arab, African, and Asian living in it. And then a coup took place in Zanzibar, and from there he came to London, and he came to me and he said, I just arrived. I told my nephew, he's sitting with you here, where shall I go to ask for advice? Is there a sheikh living in the area? He pointed you. I said, take me there now. I don't want to stay. I'm coming. What shall I do? I said, what can I do to help you? He said, are you a sheikh? I said, they called me a sheikh. Then help me. Allah inspired me to say to him, because you were an ex-Attorney General, you were a minister as well in the Nyerere government, go to the Home Office and meet the Home Office minister, not the secretary. And just put your case to him. He went, next day afternoon, he came, knocked the door, sat with me, he handed me his passport. I said, what's going on? He said, open it. He had an indefinite stay. And then he told me a long story about Sudan. I was mesmerized. He said to me, I am writing a book researching the history of humanity and the initial place where man established his life, Adam himself, is the valley of the Nile. And he went on, this valley of the Nile is so important in the history of faith and religion from the time of Adam until the time of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But he said, you only know a little bit about it. Even the first hijrah of the people to migrate, to be saved from the torment of those who were ruling the land of Arabia at the time of the Mushrikeen, people don't know about that. Did you know that the first hijrah before Medina was to Sudan? When the Prophet called Uthman ibn Affan, Abu Bakr was almost killed, and Uthman was harassed, and he was married to the daughter of the Prophet Ruqayya, and he said, تعال إلي يا عثمان. Come to me, Uthman, عليك بالسودان. فإنه أرض خير. Go to Sudan, for it is the land of khayr, the land of goodness. And khud, take with you Ruqayya and don't leave her behind you. He came with another 10 men, 4 women and few children. And after that, the second hijrah to Medina, 80 men plus and many women and children, including the wife of the Prophet ﷺ, Salama. None of them has ever written or said anything about Bath Sudan. A majority of the ancestors of you sitting here are buried in Sudan. It is clear, the blood, the language, and the practice of faith. If you go to Ethiopia next door, it's not really Abyssinia. Abyssinia is the border of Ethiopia where Negos is, a small area, a part of Eritrea, and all of North Sudan up to Aswan, including Marawi. But do you know this? We don't know. All our historians who have written about this, nobody read about them. All our publications have never been published. And the most strangest thing, even before this, the greatest dynasty of pharaohs is in Sudan, Kush. But you go to the greatest museum of the history of the pharaohs in Egypt, you find every dynasty, but Kush is never mentioned. Why don't you ask yourself why? Where are the greatest number of pyramids of those who used to rule and have that kind of zeal? Where is the dynasties of the pharaohs themselves who are now in Egypt used to live? What is their race? Aren't they Nubians? Aren't they Sudanese? In Aswan, Luxor, and all the villages and towns? Their families are in Sudan, Mahas and Damagla. They speak languages in the same borders. But we don't. We are the last people to know our heritage, our history, our wealth. In religion, in culture, there is no music like the Sudanese music. Those who know music. There is no food like the Sudanese food. There is no other country have similar kind of culture like us. I was privileged to travel to over 80 countries in the world and to meet noblemen and normal people, from sultans, kings, queens, and none of them, when he heard I'm from Sudan, only honored me. The latest happened to me in Nigeria. I was with a delegation from the British government, and we were in Kano, and we were dealing with issues to do with Islam and Muslims in Nigeria, and the news that is coming from Britain that the Muslims are being harassed. So we are trying to put this fire off, led by the embassy in Abuja. And while we are there, the first secretary said to me, this is the program. I said to him, I would like to visit the Amir of Kano. He said, we don't have time, but we can visit him only on Sunday. But as far as I know, Sunday, he will not open his door. They're all closed. So he said, but I'll ask. He asked him, you know that I will not open my door on Sunday. Why are you asking? Embarrassing yourself. He said, because the man who asked me is from Sudan. He said, what? He's from Sudan. Then he can come. When I went, I asked him, I said, do you realize the culture, the religion, the language that we have as Muslims in this country is all from Sudan? Do you realize your ancestors who used to be our teachers and guide? And in the same week, I was invited by Ibrahim Bagangita, who used to be the ex-president of Nigeria, with a delegation of mine. When we went and sat down around the table, I was sitting far away. He's sitting at the head of the table. When it came to me, where are you from? What's your name? I said, my name is Babikir, Ahmed Babikir from Sudan. He said, what? Are you from Sudan? I said, he got the man next to him, move, go and sit there. He asked me, why do you think I'm sat here? I said, Nigeria is the largest number of people in the country. We're over 200 million. We're very rich, but yet we can't even have a Nigerian national airline. But Sudan has. Sudan has everything. Culture, history, good people, honest people. We don't have an airline because there is corruption in my country. We look up to Sudan. But in the last 30, 40 years, in the name of Islam and ruling Islam, in Sudan, mixing politics with religion, Sudan was destroyed with a lot of corruption, deceit, dishonoring. Haven't you asked yourself one day, why in Saudi Arabia and the Gulf, every royal family, when they employ people with their women and their money, is from Sudan? I know that. I see them. I talk to them. And the strange thing, to trust with money and women in Saudi Arabia, among all the palaces, even the king, they must be from the Mahas. I always, when I meet a Mahasi, I say, you are the best people because you honor me. Because you are truthful and honest. They can trust you with their wife and their daughters, with their gold and silver. And the Danagla, because they cook good food. They are the best chefs in the world, and the Halfawiyin, Ahli Halfa. When I came to Britain, my father rang me and said to me, how do you find England? I said, terrible. Why? I said, the train is late and the food in the train is the most miserable. Because wallahi, in Sudan, the train comes in time and the food, the sanator, they call it. Maybe some of the older, they will remember. I used to book a sleeper train. My room will be closed, Sham' al-Ahmar. They have to break it to get me in. Where is this now? No train lines, no airlines. People are just building their own. Have you ever seen in a civilization that people build their own home and their own sewers? Costing a lot of money. Yet the same men, they go to the Gulf and they build properly and everybody is getting it cheaper. Ask yourself, why a flat in Sudan costs half £1,000,000 and in Egypt costs $50,000? The same flat. Why? This is because the Sudan that is supposed to be coming now is going to be the real Sudan. The Sudan that needs honest people. People full of dignity and honor, away from corruption. A Sudan that people have got an oomph within them to do, not for anything but for the love of Sudan. Rasulullah said, حُبُّ الْوَطَنِ مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ. To love your abode where you live, where there is a roof over your head and food on the table for your kids, should be compulsory. We don't love Sudan. We talk about it. An Egyptian going back to Egypt, the first thing he does, thank Allah for coming back to Egypt. A Sudanese came back to, oh my God, complaining about the weather, complaining about people. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. It makes me feel sad. It makes me feel sad. So, my hope for those who are organizing this among the younger generation who have lived in this country. This country is a good country. It's not a bad country. I lived here over 50 years. Many of you were not even born, even your parents maybe not married at that time. When I came here, Sudan was better than England. When it comes to what they are looking at now, why there is a war, by the way, this war is not really fought to help Sudan. When all of you are thinking this war is to do with the politics of Sudan, politicians, this war is fought for the control of what is under the ground in Sudan. There is a group who have done a study about 5-7 years ago about the riches, monetary riches under the ground in Sudan, over $5 trillion just in Darfur, of magnesium, copper, حفرة النحاس. I went to it and I stood over it. A valley full of copper. And iron ore, oil, and as the President of America says, rare earth. Where is it? In Darfur and in Kurdufan. When I came to this country, my family used to work in agricultural product. I used to have the best life. Because my Sudanese pound used to bring me £2 English, almost, $3, 13 and a half riyals. I can travel to Saudi Arabia every week if I want to go to. We were the richest kids. Sudan, students who were doing their degrees like me, undergraduate degrees, over 5,000 students and over 6,000 students paid by the government to do their PhDs. Why? Because Sudan used to export agricultural products. Cotton, sesame seed, hibiscus, senna, pods, name it, Arabian gum. One businessman called Sheikh Mustafa Al-Amin, his grandchildren used to study with me, they have tankers to export cooking oil. Every year this man will sell $1.2 billion worth of oil to England and Holland. I was doing a workshop with the Ministry of Trade in Sudan. They invited me for change from the past to the present. I said to the deputy minister, was no minister, invite everybody from the doorkeeper and the drivers, and they were all sitting there, fill the hall. So I said, change is easy, but to embrace change depends upon you. And then I began to ask them a question, how much have you done in this ministry? How much oil do you export? He said, we have done very well since we opened this ministry. Last year we have exported $57 million. I just felt sad. 57 million? Where in 1977, 78, $1.2 billion for one businessman. Altogether over $3 billion, just cooking oil. Forget about livestock, forget about sesame seed, peanuts, whatever it is. Sudan used to export up to 7 billion, import about 1.2 to 1.5 billion. There is reserve. Even Britain, this government used to borrow from Sudan. Even civil servants. Here in this country, and look into the record, they used to be trained by civil servants from Sudan. When the British left, the best civil servant in the world that colonized by Britain was in Sudan. One day I was standing in the station of Circus. I was new in London. And I was behaving like a Sudanese. The train was full. So when I'm standing and there is a woman, and there is one place, I let her go. I never got a train. And there is one man watching me. The station became empty. And this man approached me. Excuse me. Hello? I said, all right, I'm all right. Can I ask a question? I said, yes. Are you from Sudan? I said, yes. How did you know that? I said, only Sudanese can do that. Only Sudanese can behave in this way. I said to him, how? He said, you are not giving yourself first, you are giving people a chance first. This is what we used to be. Honest, truthful, helpful, kind, because we follow a culture that came to us first from the Prophet ﷺ, who sent his own daughter, his son-in-law, because our land can look after them and preserve the deen and protect this religion. We neglected it. We start fighting about what? About something which has no value. If you go to Sudan, children are not happy with their parents because they used to send money monthly for them and then to build them a house or buy them a land. They have cheated them from it. Brothers is fighting brothers and so on. Why? Why are we doing this? The war that is taking place now, if you don't know, the group that is fighting it is called the Rapid Support Forces. Nomad people. I know Darfur very well. How can a nomad man who doesn't know anything and people who have not went to college or university, maybe they know some Quran, suddenly call themselves the Rapid Support Force? Where this name came from? Did you know that? This is something being established to one day allow people to get those resources. I'm not going to talk about it, but think about it. Sudan is like an empty land with a dish full of food. The Sudanese cannot see it, but those who are hungry outside Sudan, they want it. Another thing you think about, have you ever heard of a war whereby the fighters will come and rip everything, even your door, your windows, your television from the wall, your beds, your carpet? Where are these things going? A soldier doesn't have time to fight, to take those things. Where will he carry them? He's fighting. But this is being programmed. Everything that's stolen from Sudan, if you go to neighboring countries, you will see the cars driven with Sudanese plates. A friend of mine who recently went to Chad, he said to me, I went about 4 years ago, there was no cars in N'Djamena. Today it's full of cars, but the sad thing is all Sudanese cars. Don't the president of Chad ask himself, where did we get this car from? What about customs and asking licenses? The only body who doesn't know is us, the Sudanese people. So I would like those who are organizing this conference, if they really want to do something good, is to look properly to the history of Sudan. Because if you don't know your past, you cannot be standing firm on your feet to build a future. And if you cannot build a future, you are not going to leave any legacy. You will be forgotten. Have you ever heard of the greatest Arabist in the world? Dr. Abdullah Tayyib. Very few people know about him. But in the Arab world, he was known to be the greatest. Have you ever heard of Tayyib Abu Sin, who lives in London today? He's a student of this man. He's the greatest Arabist today in the Arab world. If any speech is written in a palace somewhere, in a government office somewhere, he is contacted to check it for them for Arabic language. But we don't know him. He walks and sits with you as an old man, but nobody knows who this man is. Have you ever heard of the historians, the people who wrote the best of books, poetry? They're all from Sudan. But we don't. We don't publish what we have. We don't talk about our country the way other people talk about their countries, because we don't know our history. And in order for us to build a future, we must think of the past. The Quran is made of 3 components: stories, who Allah is, and rules and regulations, Sharia. These 3 components make the person understand who they are, where do they come from, what is their purpose of being here on the earth, and where are they going next. Without this, then you don't know who you are. And if you don't know who you are, you will not be able to do anything to benefit yourself in the least, or anybody else besides that. Young people today have a scope of doing a lot of good if they can only realize where to begin and they have a clear vision. I taught all my life. I was one of the first to open Muslim schools similar to British, English, Christian, or Jewish schools. Today there are over 300 in this country, over 1,000 across the world. All those schools, either I helped in opening them, or trained, or employed people, or interviewed people, whatever I did. The only thing I always ask, what is your vision? What is the vision? If you don't have a vision, you have nothing. If you don't have a vision, forget about it. What is our vision to Sudan? What do we want from Sudan? What do we want from the people who can help Sudan? What do we want? Otherwise, it becomes just a talking shop. We can just talk like our people sitting in cafeterias, playing dominoes, talking about it. I went to Sudan once upon a time, and I was sitting with the minister in his office, and he's a powerful minister. And I was watching with him troubled in another country. He's talking like me. I said to him, brother, you're supposed to talk like an authority, because you have something you can do. I can't do nothing, but you are the authority. You are the government. If you are talking like me, what's the benefit? Me and you are not equal. When you are in power, Allah has given you that power to do something. But when you are somebody who is following somebody in power, I wait for you to guide me what to do next. So for those who are lucky enough to be with Dr. Allam, to come with this initiative, and may Allah bless you, Dr. Allam. Wallahi al-azim, not in front of your face, but you are the only Sudanese man who really loves Sudan. For you to expose all the students who are researching, help them what to do, publish their work, give them a platform to where to connect and whom to connect with. I had never seen any Sudanese before you doing this, because everybody is thinking, I. But Allah has put it in your heart, we. I think about you like in Sudan. I could go to Madani, to your house, and the first thing your father will ask you, who is in the Diwan? You remember the Diwan? Which of your friends or the strangers from the market you brought with you to the Diwan? Because the mothers are not happy unless there are guests to feed them. Today when the bell rings, who's there? Who invited them? We're not ready for them. We haven't gotten in the fridge. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And we are known to be generous. I'm going to finish with this. Generosity in Sudan is second to none. Wallahi al-azim. The most generous people in the world in Sudan. I traveled, I have seen. When I was living there, my father used to send me to the train station, to bus stops. If there are any strangers who miss their train, who are waiting for the next train, and they're waiting for 5-6 hours for the next day, bring them home, son. And many of the foreigners who used to travel from Europe, speaking French, speaking English, speaking Dutch, I learned a lot of things. I was young, teenager, 14, 15. I would go and talk to them. And they asked me, I don't have money for a place to stay. Are you a hotel? I said, no, I'm not a hotel. Why are you asking me? I said, I'm giving you for free. And they couldn't believe it. And they come home, we have a ready place, beds, showers. And wallahi al-azim, I had never felt more proud than seeing all our people fighting after Friday prayer. Who will take more guests home? Who will take more guests? You know, usually you will know your father. I went to your dad and I saw who is with him. He just does a reading. He's happy when there is more reading. When they told him I came from London, he said, bring him near to me. That's Sudan. That is our people. Honest, truthful, generous, courageous. They don't fear anybody. We're not tails, we're heads. Wallahi al-azim, we're heads. Everything built in the Middle East is built by Sudanese. The first mayor of Dubai today was Sudanese. All the engineers who built Abu Dhabi were Sudanese. One of them is my own cousin. When Sheikh Zayed came to Sudan in 1970, he said to the mayor, I want Abu Dhabi to be like Khartoum. From Moderator, the Ministry of Work, he took. And my cousin was chosen first. I can't sit here and tell you. But the time will not permit me. I want you to talk about things that you're going to do yourself. I can only just show you some of the things that I feel will make us the best people. I had never met an European, American, or Asian. When I asked them, where are you from? And then they said, where are you from Sudan? They say, oh, good people. Never I met an Arab, only the best Arab. When I met an African, the best African. Everybody agrees Sudan is in a place whereby people should look up to them. Are we looking up to ourselves? Are we guarding ourselves with the rule, the regulation of our culture? Are we following the religion that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon us? Or are we shunning it? No nation can go without faith. If you think you can just look at the material world and work with the intellectual mind Allah gave to you to build this material world, think about our ancestors. They built over 300 pyramids. Where are they today? Where is Kush? Think about our ancestors who did a lot of good. You know that Ali Baba was Sudanese? I always tell the English, what? It's a myth, I said, he was Sudanese. He gave you headaches when he used to go and rob the ships coming from India through them. He was a good man. I said the 40 thieves were the 40 good men. Usman Digna, you know Usman Digna? Read about him, please. Read about your Sudan. Usman Digna, he gave the British so much trouble. They have to take him and expose him and put him in Egypt until he died. I'm proud of my people. I'm proud of Sudan. I'm proud of being a Sudanese and being a Muslim. I hope you too. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.